This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson. Excited to be here with you today. And today's episode kind of talks a little bit about one of the deals that I didn't do that has stood out the most in my almost 20 years of real estate experience. And, you know, a lot of us go to workshops, we go to seminars, we see pictures of properties that that are flipped, or the before and the after. You know, we watch HGTV or Extreme Home Makeover, move that bus, you know what I mean? And so we go like, picking up paint and, let's put a red door, you know, let's make it feng shui and landscaping, and let's make sure and, you know, do all these little things, staging the house, you know, having the candle that smells like pumpkin pie or chocolate chip cookies to help us move it. And that's a great thing. But there has been one quote that was instilled in me early in my real estate career that I heard from a guy that I got a chance to travel the country with and hear him speak almost every weekend, almost every other weekend for about 2 years. And I'm talking about not my buddy Bob Leonard. I've heard Bob speak plenty of times, taught me the business. But I heard a guy by the name of Ron LeGrand. I guess you could say the grandfather of real estate, been in it for 40 years, ex-auto mechanic, and going around doing mortgages for his clients. He used to always talk about how the smell of shit and piss in a house was the smell of money. And that quote has always stuck with me. The smell of shit and piss is the smell of money. And, you know, I think about that. And when I think about that quote, I have so many memories come rushing back. Like many people, as I started in my real estate career, kind of definitely before I got into the note business. But I was learning the note business, learning creative financing. I started marketing like many people, postcards, bandit signs, yellow letters out in the mortgage company. I talked about this in the previous episode a little bit of how we found a property in Round Rock with my first rehab. Lessons learned from my first rehab. Well, definitely lessons learned from a hoarding house. This episode is all about. It's called the Hoarder House. And let me set the mood here a little bit. It's late October, early November. There's ice out. It was cold in Texas. It'd been freezing the last couple nights, and I'd sent some letters out to people that were with World Savings, trying to get, you know, we had such a great relationship with World Savings as mortgage trying to get people refinance. And I also sent letters out to people facing the foreclosure off of the RODI list that we had here, a foreclosure listing service many people are familiar with. And I sent out a bunch of, not postcards, not yellow letters. I literally printed out letters and say, hey, you know, I'd like to help you stay in your house. We have different opportunities. And then in the previous episode, I would put my picture at the bottom, say, P.S. I put my photo at the bottom so you know I'm a real person, real solutions, just in case I had to go meet somebody. Now, if we backtrack it a few years, when I was in trouble, I got bombarded with letters from real estate investors when I was facing foreclosure, you know. And I always liked it when they put a picture, because then I could identify that person. I could talk with that person. If I had to go meet them at a Starbucks or meet them somewhere, I had a picture. So it wasn't like that nervousness. If you ever go to meet somebody, you don't know who you're looking for. It's like that blind date without a photo. You don't want that. So lo and behold, I send these letters out, and come Sunday night, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, I'm in the house, my phone rings, and it pops up on the caller ID, Walmart Leander. I'm like, Walmart payphone? What the heck? So I answer the phone, and this lady's on the other line. She says, "Is this Scott Carson?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, it is." I got one of your letters. I'm like, "Great, they're calling me." Wow. I mean, I'm literally thinking, wow, they called within the first couple of days. She goes, "Yeah, can you come by my house later tonight and talk? I don't have a lot of time here on the payphone, but can you come by the house?" I'm like, yeah, let me get a pen and paper. And so she gave me her address, which is in Leander, Texas. I was living in Round Rock at the time, which is on the north. Leander's on the north side of Austin. And she's like, "It's blank, blank, blank. When you come to the address, when you come to the house, when you ring the doorbell, go stand by the garage door. Don't stand by the door. Go stand by the garage door. I was like, okay. She goes, I got a couple dogs. I'm like, oh, okay. I can understand it. Ring the doorbell. They go all 8. It's hard to get some. Totally makes sense. So I'm all excited. Hang up with her. And she's like, I'll see you at like 7 o'clock. I'm like, perfect. Or 6 o'clock. I don't know. It's just a couple hours. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I get out my checklist, my 1-page checklist. I pull up the address in the county records to see who the owner's name was. Yes, it matched up who I talked to. Pulled up. It was a house. And to give you an idea here, if you're listening to this, you can't see it. But if you're watching this, you can see this is a picture of the house. This is the actual house. It's a 2-story Kaufman Brody built home, KB home. So for those that know, KB Home is a big builder, but square homes, big square footage. This is on over about a half-acre backyard. I saw it because it's at the end of a cul-de-sac. 5-bedroom, 4-bath, pretty good size house, 2-car garage in a nice area of North Austin area. So I'm doing the due diligence. I'm like, okay, I can kind of figure out what she owes based on looking at the deed records really fast. And I was pretty excited. I'm like, yay, awesome. So I get in my car, go over. It's cold. Dressed in jeans and just a regular polo shirt. And I go and, ring the doorbell. And I hear several dogs barking. I'm like, oh, those are some big dogs. So I go stand by the garage. And that is like where stuff just got real. All right. So literally, suddenly I hear the garage door start to open up. And it's like something out of like a sci-fi movie where the door starts to inch up and stuff starts coming out of the bottom. Not quite smoke, not quite fog, like a yellowish tint of stuff. And suddenly I get hit by this wave as the garage door opens because there's this car, I don't know, this little older late year model. I think it was a Lincoln or something like that, or a Mercury in there. And on the walls, there are all these bookshelves with all these paperback romance novels. I mean, literally, I'm not joking, from like 6-foot tall bookshelves, paperbacks on the wall. And there is just black trash bags, full trash bags, lining the sides of the garage also, where basically you get the car in, there's a path, and that's about it. You can see some other stuff in there. And then this lady who walked out, who's maybe 4.5 foot tall, about not quite that wide, but this little lady comes out. I'm like, okay, all right. And she's like, you Scott? I'm like, yes, ma'am. She goes, you match your photo. Okay, great. And she's talking to me, and I'm like, okay, are we gonna go inside? She's like, I got 4 dogs inside. It's cold out. I got my fence is a whole line, so I can't let them in the backyard because they run off. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. We'll talk here for a little bit. And she starts telling me a little bit about her troubles, and it's cold. And she's like, okay, I'm cold. Let's go inside. And she turns around, and she'd been wearing these khaki pants, these khaki, I don't know, not really pants, and they're not like jeans, but khaki culottes, I guess you could call them. When she turned around, the wind blew, and you could see literally that the culottes were split all the way down the middle. Luckily, she was wearing granny panties. So that's how I'm sitting there just I'm like, okay, this stinks. I smell crap. Doesn't smell good. This is going to get interesting. So we walk in to the house, and she walks in. As soon as I walk in, I'm hit with this smell. Again, the smell of piss and excrement. And I sit down and I'm looking around, there's flies everywhere, and the downstairs had just piles of crap everywhere. She's got these 2 big couches, and she pulls off like this big pile of clothes that was on the couch. It looked like it had been there forever. Plops it down, sits down in her chair, and then offers me the couch. Well, as I'm walking around, I'm walking the carpet, my shoes, I can hear a little squish, squish, squish a little bit. Yeah, if you haven't vomited yet, I almost did when I was walking through it. Because as I'm looking around, I see that the bottom, like 18 inches of the wall, had a yellow tint to it. And there was a lot of dog shit. I'm sorry. It wasn't just excrement. It was dog crap, like piles everywhere. And she had 4 big dogs, like 2 German Shepherds, a lab mix, and something else. And they came up to smell me. And I'm just kind of sitting there trying to be, not touch them. And as I see them rolling around and everything and licking each other, and as I'm glancing around the kitchen, I can see all these plates in this thing. She had a big kitchen, nice big cabinets, but there was stuff everywhere. She proceeds to tell me that the water had been turned off at the house for at least 4 months. So she couldn't wash the dishes. And then she had all this money and several other homes and lost all because of her bad roommates and drugs and things like that. And that she had warrants out on her for driving without it with an expired license. So she hated the cops there in Leander and Cedar Park in North Austin because she was constantly driving to go get food and stuff like that, but didn't have a license because of parking tickets and speeding tickets and other things. And so it just got, she didn't have a phone on. I mean, she had the power on, but the way it needs some work. And the thing that was the most disgusting thing was seeing these big dogs walking through there, doing their business. She's like, yeah, I don't take my dogs outside because I don't want them to run off. I said, well, okay, but don't they have a leash? Well, they're just too strong for me. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a excuse. Get a rope to hold on to the dogs, not to kill anybody. But I'm sitting there, and this is just the smell of the house. I mean, just stunk. It's not as bad as cat piss. I mean, the only thing that would have been worse, it would have been like 5 cats running crazy throughout the house, pissing and crapping everywhere. And we all know cat piss is a different type of scent to it. Don't get me wrong. Dog piss is bad when it's done, but literally, it was horrible, okay? And the worst thing is these dogs are playing on it. They're coming up to her, and she is literally like, they're kissing her they're licking her face. They're kissing on the lips. She's like, very nasty. I literally almost vomited like 2 or 3 times. Luckily, I hadn't eaten dinner before coming out, or I would have thrown up. And so I'm like, okay, well, I see the stack of postcards on her thing, a pack of letters. I said, well, why'd you call me? She goes, well, I got your postcard here, your letter about wanting to refinance. Do you think I get refinanced? I was like, there's no way in heck you're going to be able to get refinanced. You don't have a job and all that stuff. She's like, okay, well, what can you do? I said, well, honestly, I mean, you probably owe more than the house and it's worth at the time, with the market being where it's at. It's going to need some work. Going to need a lot of work. What about if we can negotiate a short sale and sell the property? She's like, okay, I've got some friends I could move in. I could try to get a job. And she said she'd been out of work for like a year and had been trying because she's been just living on money or savings and stuff like that. Anyway, had a couple of roommates, like I said, and anyway. So I said, okay, I'm going to have to take photos of the property. I got to take photos of each room so I can send this in my report to the bank to send in a short sale. I need to sign off on this authorization of lease information. Sure enough, she did. She was very hesitant to share. And I'm like, listen, I've seen it all, which was a flat out lie because this is like my first in-person appointment off of letters. I mean, literally, I was baptized in the deep end. God threw me into the deep end of real estate, said, here you go, swim, versus gradually being in. And so I pull out my camera and I start taking photos and making sure, hey, here's a big pile of food. Here's the stuff that's sitting there, trying to take photos. She didn't want me going to the bathrooms. And this place had 4 bathrooms, 4 toilets. Well, you heard me mention that the water had been turned off for 4 months. Okay. She probably hadn't taken a shower. Oh, well, she said she would go to the YMCA to take a shower like once a week. Okay. Her neighbors didn't like her because she was stealing water from them at night to run off, get some water for her dogs or try to bathe in the cold outside. And of course that wasn't happening because it was cold. So anyway, I'm taking photos and we get to the bathrooms and she's like, I don't really want to show you the bathrooms. Like, I got to see it. So what she had been doing is when the water ran out, she would use one toilet and couldn't flush. She would still be using it until all the waste was up at the top. And then she would put the dirty toilet paper in a Homer bucket. Yes, a 5-gallon bucket. So each bathroom was just smelled like a sewer. All right. I wish the photos would have been scratch and sniff. So we went through everything up to get to her master bedroom, and there are to-go containers all over the place. She had carved out a spot in her king-size bed. The dog slept with her at night too, so you could tell dog hair was everywhere. Same thing, dog food, not the dry kind, but wet kind had been spilt over. Just didn't take care of the property at all. So I take these photos and I get in the car and I'm heading home and I call the wife and I say, can you put some soap and shampoo in the garage and a towel and a clean set of clothes? And she's like, yeah, what's going on? And I told her and she's like, oh my gosh. And so I drove with the windows down just in case the stench that had gotten in my clothes didn't permeate into my Trailblazers at the time. Get home, go in the garage, I close the garage, I bring in, the hose was brought in, I strip down all my clothes, and I literally just throw them all in the trash can. The tennis shoes, luckily they were my best shoes. One of Ronald Grand saying was, don't go over in your Sunday best. They'll think that you can pay more for the property. Go over in regular clothes a lot of times. Don't go over in your nice car, go over in your second. Well, we just had the Trailblazer. So anyway, I go in there, strip down, throw my clothes away, and I, proceeded to go to work. And She didn't have, she could only check her email like once a week at the library. And so it was like touch and go with her. I got whatever documents I could from her. She didn't have a job. Bank account sent into the World Savings, photos, and I went back and forth with World Savings for about 6 months trying to negotiate a short sale. And they didn't want to budge. They didn't want to budge. They didn't want to budge. And finally, after 6 months, they're like, we're not going to accept a short sale. Just not going to do that. And I think partially it was because she'd been on the hook for a couple other mortgages and those had gone awry. So I called, finally got her on the phone because we would play phone tag as she would go to Walmart, make a phone call once a week because I didn't want to go back over to the house. I mean, I went over to the house one time to get some of her documents that she had available, and that was it. I didn't want to go back inside. We did outside. But unfortunately, could not do it. And I learned a lot from that house that I'm not afraid of anything. Now, I grew up in a hardware store. I mean, I've dug septic tanks. I've cleaned out septic tanks in South Texas, been around dairy farms, done a lot, built houses from the ground up before. So I'm not afraid of work. I'm not afraid of a little crap and stench. I've had animals, stuff like that. But look, real estate is not always the perfect, everything smells like a roses aspect of things. And anytime I've come across a hoarder house like that, there's a couple things. Something has gone dramatically wrong in that person's life. And you always try to do the best that you could. Now, what eventually ended up happening, Wachovia, or it was actually started before Wachovia bought World Savings. I got a phone call about 2-3 months later from the asset manager that held this loan and was looking at my name was Mr. Diaz, Mr. Gonzalez, something like that. I said, no, this is Scott Carson. I was trying to negotiate the short. He goes, well, we're trying to track the borrower or the buyer down this property, still want to proceed. I mean, what do you mean proceed? She goes, well, the borrower, not the buyer, the borrower passed away in the property. And I was like, oh, so that's, it's an unfortunate situation. We've seen plenty of other deals. I mean, I've walked through hoarded houses in Kansas City that had horrible flea infestations on shadow road inventories. I've, rehabbed the ugliest and biggest roach infested property in Salt Lake City years ago. So it all started with this. It is not pretty. If I could have made a deal happen, great. But a lot of people will if anybody else had gone on the first time, it would have probably scared most people off from real estate. And I have to thank Mr. Ron LeGrand for that smell, because that was the thing that stuck through my head the entire time. The smell of shit and piss is the smell of money, if you can make it work. This one didn't make it work, but I learned so much, started me down on the path of doing short sales and trying to help people out there. Eventually, the property sold. They didn't have a probate will. They didn't foreclose, and person bought it, rehabbed it. They had to strip it down to the studs, basically. And when you have something that's extreme like this, like a meth house, you have to strip it down to the studs, put coating on it, pull down to the slab, recoat the slab, and then basically rehab from the inside out. So, unfortunately, photos aren't scratch and sniff. Unfortunately, World Savings did not want to have a video. I had a video filmed on my camera. They didn't want to accept that. They just wanted the regular photos. So, unfortunately, it took them another, 6 to 8 months to sell the property. When if they would have accepted my offer on the front end side, they probably got a little bit more than what they got in the long run. So you never know what you're going to run into in real estate. Most of the time it's good. Most of the time it's really good, solid people. But what you got to realize, especially in the note space, if somebody's falling behind their mortgage, it's because they're out of work, they've gotten sick, they've gotten divorced, something bad has happened to them. And it's not always there's issues that has happened. Sometimes it is. You run into it where people have get struck on drugs and alcohol and other things that can happen. I'm proud to say that we've helped a lot of people who've gone through financial hiccups stay in their house, get back on track with life or bring a bad chapter to an end and let them move on with their life. So you never know what you're going to find when you walk in that front door or what's behind it. As I've always said, notes in real estate investing is like a country western song, one story at a time, everybody. So here's to dogs and animals and hoarders. They're just one chapter in this crazy book we call real estate investing. So I would love to hear your stories. If you've got a hoarder story like this too, if you've got one you rehabbed or a friend or something like that, I'd love for them to reach out to me. Scott at WeCloseNotes.com is my email, or you can always schedule a quick phone call when we talk with ScottCarson.com. And as always, everybody out there, please take the opportunity, subscribe, write and review the show, and feel free to share it with somebody else there. But thanks for listening to Note Closure, everybody out there, Note Nation. take some action, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.